8 mice. 4 males. 4 females. Placed inside a perfect world, unlimited food, unlimited water, no disease, no predators, no threats of any kind. 5 years later, every single one of them was dead, and not a single death was caused by anything a vet could have diagnosed. But before I tell you what actually killed them, I need to show you what some of the survivors looked like, because that is the part that should disturb you most. In the final years of the colony, one group of mice stood apart. Their fur was perfect. No wounds, no scars. They ate, they slept, they groomed themselves for hours. Calhoun called them the beautiful ones. He tried to save them. He removed some from the colony, gave them space, healthy environments, willing mates. They couldn't adapt. They had no interest in mating, no ability to socialize. They simply moved through the world as if no other creature existed in it. They looked like the healthiest mice in the entire colony. They were also, functionally, dead. Now here's what almost nobody asks. How did mice in a paradise end up like that? The answer starts 20 years before this experiment ever began. The man was John B. Calhoun, an ethologist at the National Institutes of Health. He had spent his entire career chasing one question. What happens to a society when nothing is hard anymore? He built 24 experiments before this one. A quarter-acre forest in Maryland. Barn enclosures. Laboratory rooms. Each a slightly different paradise, no scarcity, no predators, no escape. In every single one, he saw the exact same pattern. Population explodes. Violence spikes. Mating distorts into something hyperactive and twisted. Then collapse. Then silence. He documented it 24 times. The 25th Universe 25 was meant to be the definitive one. The clean experiment. The final answer nobody could argue with. A 9-foot square enclosure. Walk-up apartments stacked along every wall. Tunnels running floor to ceiling. Hoppers that never ran empty. Water bottles that never ran dry. Space calculated for 3,800 mice. It would never come close to that number. And what happened inside that enclosure, in 4 specific phases, is the most precise model of societal collapse ever recorded. Phase 1 looked like paradise. Phase 4 looked like something else entirely. The 8 founders explored, learned the geography, worked out who slept where. Almost nothing happened. The first litters arrived. The population doubled every 55 days. By day 315, over 600 mice were living inside. They climbed over each other on the ramps, slept in piles, jostled for nesting space at the tops of the apartments. This is the moment everything began to come apart. In a normal colony, surplus mice emigrate. They find new ground. Inside Universe 25, there was no new ground. The young males with nowhere to go and no role to fill drifted into the center of the enclosure. They formed listless pools of bodies. Calhoun would stand above the pen for hours watching them do nothing. No fights to win, no females to court, nothing to defend. When attacked, they wouldn't fight back. They would absorb the damage, stand up, walk a few feet, and lie down again. At the same time, another group formed on the opposite end. Frantic, indiscriminate, moving faster than any other mice. Forcing themselves into nests, skipping courtship entirely, refusing to stop even when attacked by dominant males. And then the mothers began to fail. Defending a nest in that environment was constant work. The males who had claimed territory grew exhausted from patrolling and stopped protecting their families. The mothers were left to defend the nest alone while still nursing. They turned on their own young. They abandoned pups in scattered places around the enclosure. Some forgot which pups belonged to them. Others stopped recognizing their offspring entirely. In the worst sections of the colony, fewer than 1 in 20 newborn mice survived to weaning. But here is the thing Calhoun could not stop thinking about. The mice that survived, the ones who grew up in this, became something he had never seen before. And what he concluded about them is the part everyone gets wrong. The pups that survived were raised by mothers who barely cared whether they lived. They had no model of what a functioning life looked like. When they grew up, they never fought, never mated, never engaged in any social activity at all. Their fur stayed perfect because they never got into a single fight. They were the beautiful ones. When Calhoun's paper came out, the world latched onto the obvious reading. Comfort kills. Abundance destroys. A life without struggle is a life that collapses. But that was not what Calhoun said. His real conclusion was sitting right there in his own words. If the number of individuals capable of filling meaningful roles greatly exceeds the number of roles available, only violence and disruption can follow. The food never ran out. The water never ran out. What ran out was something nobody had thought to put in the paradise to begin with. Meaningful roles. Comfort didn't kill them. It just removed the friction that made being alive feel like something. Here's where this stops being a mouse story. The most connected era in human history. More food, more comfort, more entertainment than any civilization before. And yet loneliness is now a global public health epidemic. Social isolation carries health risks comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Birth rates collapsing not from poverty, but from something harder to name. We are not running out of resources. We are running out of roles. The behavioral sink of the 21st century doesn't look like violence. It looks like a glowing screen at 2 a.m. 10,000 followers and nobody to call. Perfect physical health. Total emotional withdrawal. The beautiful ones didn't die ugly. They just faded. And here is the part almost nobody quotes. Calhoun was not a doomer. He spent the rest of his career not predicting the collapse, but trying to prevent it. He kept building new universes. He kept changing the variables. He believed it could be fixed. He wrote that as physical space contracts, the only way forward is to extend ourselves into conceptual space, into ideas, into networks, into roles that didn't exist before. He called it ideational generativity. A long phrase for a simple idea, the way out is to keep making new reasons to be here. On May 23, 1973, the last mouse in Universe 25 died. 4 years and 10 months after Calhoun shut the lid. He wrote that they had died 2 deaths. The first was the death of the spirit. The second was the death of the body. The first one happened years before the second. The mice didn't have a choice. The question Calhoun left behind was never about mice. It was always about us. We are Universe 26. And unlike the mice, we still get to decide.